I'm John Ainsworth. I'm Chief Magistrate of the North Carolina American Republic. And we're going to go into another phase of this conversation I had with the North Carolina Institute of Constitutional Law of some responses I had on the other side. So if you haven't seen the previous video, you need to follow the links to find out exactly what was said before we go into this part here. So just follow the links and go there. Now if you follow the links and you've already seen what was stated, you will see that a John Hood is the person that takes the question at the very end.
I would say the Reconstruction Acts had a bill of attainder.
Mr. Hood. John Hood will resolve this.
Yes.
And you see how eager the justices and the University of North Carolina law professor, Orth, and Jerry Cohen were at deflecting to, or I guess at this point it was abdicating over to John Hood to answer these questions I'm bringing up. I find it interesting that these individuals, Chief Justice of the North Carolina Supreme Court, a University of North Carolina law professor who specializes in North Carolina constitutional history, due process of law, and an attorney who drafts legislation for the North Carolina legislature, were eager to defer the answering of my questions to a journalist. Again, he's a journalist with and founder of the John Locke Foundation. But what you'll see is in the video, what you saw in the last video, is John Locke did not answer it. He did not give input. He did not help settle it. He deflected the issue to another direction, and this topic never came back up.
John Hood will resolve this.
Yes.
Have him come up.
Recognizing that we have other things happening later in the day here in the building, different things people need to get to, I wanted to ask a question related to Professor Orth's point about why you might want to avoid frequent amendments so as to make the Constitution more like a set of constantly changing laws rather than a set of procedures.
Now I'd like to show you the conversation that took place between John Hood and myself in the aisle after the conference was over, or after the presentation was over.
Are you going to listen to me, or are you just going to argue? It's against me. No, it's not. A due process violation occurs frequently. Right. If I was going to argue that I would be ignoring anything that a state or federal government did because it violated due process, I would argue that I would always be ignoring it. My point is you have to. Yes, because there are constant violations. Fortunately, for example, the judge the other day in Florida was able to stop the federal government from doing what I think is clearly an extra constitutional violation.
Who are you with? Over election and sheriffs.
Who am I with?
Yeah, just
John Locke. So all I'm saying is if your position is that you're going to go into court and have somebody strike down a public vote.
No. That is not the issue.
Okay. That's not the issue. All I'm saying is if that's your perception of what the issue is, you're doomed to waste your time.
No, no.
You're doomed to waste
Right
your
now,
time.
I think what's happening in here is going to waste our time.
Okay, but all of these folks, the judges, the members of the state legislature, the government, they are all elected under the Constitution.
You don't know enough about the topic. Are you familiar with Ex parte McCarville, the Supreme Court case that dealt with Reconstruction?
I am very familiar with the history of Reconstruction, including that case.
Okay, so what do you think about what Lyman Trumbull did in Congress?
Respectfully,
What do you think about what Lyman Trumbull
the
did
basic
in Congress?
concept of if you're going to go to court and get relief, you have to have an argument that the court will buy.
Right.
Okay, so if I'm not going to argue with you about the propriety of the Constitution that was forced on North Carolina in 1868, any of that. All I'm saying is you're going to court in front of a judge
Right.
who was selected under the rules that you object to. You understand?
Well, that's why you challenge jurisdiction. You challenge.
To whom? To whom?
Special appearance. You go in special appearance,
To
not
whom?
a general appearance, to the prosecution.
They're all creatures of the state constitution you reject. All of them.
But they're bringing you in. So out of necessity, You've got to challenge. Challenging jurisdiction is a judicial process, is a lawful
in front
process.
of a judge who has been selected under the Constitution. You reject. That's all I'm getting at.
No.
So as a practical matter, your effort is doomed. If I agree with your effort, if I disagree with your effort, it is doomed for the very reason that you argue that all the artifice that is based upon this
So you say once an unconstitutional entity gets in place, it can never be changed because now the unconstitutional entity is who you got to argue.
You could get the public. You could have some kind of process for writing a new constitution.
No.
Or you could have an armed revolution. Either one of those would change it.
Or you could use the law.
Arguably be jurisdictional.
Or you could use the law and say, was this the past law? And that's what we're saying. And you're saying the law is the most ineffective way to actually get legal issues resolved
here. The law is administered and written by people, all of whom derive their power from the state constitution, the legitimacy of which you are questioning.
Of which they've got to be able to defend themselves.
They will win.
Are they a lawfully created state? No, they can't prove it.
Thank you. I've got to run. Well, thank you.
Okay, John, thanks for coming.
As you can see from that clip, the John Locke Foundation clearly understands Reconstruction. They clearly understand that it was unconstitutional. He clearly stated that it was forced upon us. And he clearly states that there's nothing we should do about it. And again, as I stated in the last video, we know that what Reconstruction did was nationalize citizenship. It made Congress. It took away the limited government that this nation was founded upon and put into place a system that we've been railing against. And you cannot remedy this situation unless you go back to Reconstruction. John Hood of the John Locke Foundation just basically said, it's a waste of time. You're doomed if you go in that direction. And he is knowledgeable in this topic. The issue we've got to deal with here is, are we a nation of laws or are we a nation of men? Can Americans have a reasonable expectation to go into court and have the law reign supreme, or as John Hood says with the John Locke Foundation, is this is a nation of men, Mr. Ainsworth. Now, he didn't say those words, but that's what he means. We are in a nation of men. The law has no place in these courts of law. That's problematic. We need to address this issue, and if you notice what he said, the only way to do it is have a new constitution rather than having an unconstitutional act declared unconstitutional. The law would be what displaces this government in place, not an armed rebellion. So the John Locke Foundation, or John Hood of the John Locke Foundation, is proposing a preposterous concept in my belief. He is promoting the concept that we are a nation of men. We are not a nation of law. Do not take law into courts. I think it's time to do something about this. I lost a lot of respect for the John Locke Foundation in that conversation. Who were the body politic in 1776? Who was the body politic in North Carolina in 1868? And who was the body politic in 1971 when this new Constitution? And let's see if it's the exact same body politic who were the posterity of the Constitution of the United States of America. And I would say that there is a change, an unconstitutional and unlawful change. And again, just to rephrase what I was asking them, to bring us back around, I was asking them, this is a group that was talking about how to amend the Constitution. And my question is, shouldn't we settle whether this government that we're operating under now is lawful and constitutional before we talk about whether or how the process we want to use to amend it? We have some huge issues here. This is the only place you're going to get answers to what happened in this country. And we're just trying to figure out how to get these people to answer these questions.
John Ainsworth is currently the Chief Magistrate of the reestablished state of the North Carolina American Republic. John is also the founder of America's Remedy, an organization dedicated to bringing the untold history of America to the public eye. Visit ncrepublic.org and americasremedy.com for more information.